Welcome to the Anti-Optimist Therapist podcast, where optimism and realism coexist. I saw something online recently that made me stop and think, and honestly, it reminded me why I sometimes struggle with the internet therapy world, or the internet in general, really. A therapist on Instagram said she welcomes anyone into her office, whether they're Republican, Democrat, Independent, whatever. And another therapist reposted it and basically said she was disgusted and was unfollowing her and anyone else that supported the post for openly stating that she supports people of all political beliefs. Just let that sink in for a second. A therapist expressing compassion was treated like she's a moral threat. That's where we are. Somewhere along the way, it sometimes feels like therapy has been hijacked by ideology. Not values, not ethics, but ideology. And ideology is dangerous for one simple reason. It turns ordinary people into moral vigilantes who think they already know how the world should be before dealing with their own challenges. It's the people that somehow think they have the answers to everything and seem to have a hard time being able to sometimes say, yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the answer to that is, or recognizing I don't necessarily completely understand where everyone is coming from, but I can understand people have different beliefs than I do. And when that mindset seeps into therapy, I think it destroys the foundation of the entire profession. Because how can you help someone if you've already decided they're wrong, they're bad, or beyond redemption based on their voting record? And you know what ideology actually is? It is simple ideas disguised as science or philosophy, claiming to explain the complexity of the world, when in reality, I don't think any of us can even begin to grasp and comprehend the complexity of the world. It offers certainty in a very seductive way. It gives people an identity, a tribe, and a sense of superiority. But I think it also causes people to sometimes be hyper-judgmental, censorious, and a little too sure. That's why ideological therapists can't tolerate nuance. They need black and white morality because ambiguity feels threatening. It's rigidity masquerading as righteousness. In ACT, that's what we call cognitive fusion, being so fused with a belief that you can't see beyond it. When in reality, I think if we sat down with friends, neighbors, whomever, and try to engage in civil discourse, without turning things into name-calling or whatever the case may be, we would probably often see that we have more in common with people than not. Oftentimes we have similar goals, but may have different ways of approaching them. In ACT, we teach something ideologues hate. Your thoughts are not facts. They're stories, mental events passing through awareness. When you have space around your thoughts, you can be curious, compassionate, and flexible. But when you're fused with ideology, everyone who disagrees becomes dangerous. Curiosity disappears, humility dies, and therapy becomes activism in disguise. And one of ACT's core pillars is self as context, and what that teaches is that you are the awareness behind your thoughts, not the thoughts themselves. That's why ACT is anti-ideological. It requires humility, it requires uncertainty, it requires letting go of the I already know everything mindset. It requires exploring your values and living according to them and not choosing others' values for them. I can't choose my clients' values as a therapist, and frankly, I don't want to. But I should be there for them to be able to help them live their chosen values better. And I think we can see history as a warning label. The countless times millions of people have been murdered by people who I think genuinely believed they were fixing the world in some sense, or cleansing it, or whatever the case is. And these people were unfortunately absolutely sure that they were right. Ideology seems to always start with good intentions, but when compassion is replaced with moral superiority, harm, I believe, is inevitable. And today, it's creeping into therapy, this belief that only one political, religious, or cultural stance is acceptable for someone to hold. That's not therapy, that's indoctrination. Real therapy isn't about agreement. It's about presence, openness, and psychological flexibility. It's about sitting with people whose lives, beliefs, and experiences are radically different and still offering compassion without collapsing into their worldview or demanding they collapse into yours. If your compassion stops at your political comfort zone, it's not compassion, it's psychological rigidity. In ACT, we would say values-based action means choosing who you want to be, not who your ideology demands you be. If therapy becomes just another arm of tribal warfare, we've lost the entire point. Healing requires humility, flexibility, curiosity, willingness to step back from our thoughts and say, maybe there's more here than my side has told me. Because you cannot help people you've already condemned, and you cannot heal people you refuse to see. Therapy isn't a political party. In the moment we start treating it like one, we stop treating people like people. Thanks for listening to the Anti-Optimist Therapist podcast, where optimism and realism coexist.